When it comes to ZBCN, despite the price not necessarily doing the best as of right now, and despite the pullback, do I still think there is a positive update? Well, in terms of its fundamentals, I would say arguably yes, even though nothing I say is financial advice. Now, why do I think that way, even though 10 cents is currently around a 33x from here? Again, because of the pullback. Well, it's because not too long ago, Zebec, they actually released the monthly volume report, and it was about September, and I feel like it kind of showcased how Zebec, in terms of payrolls, it's still pretty, I think, you know, recognizable within that space because its payroll volume, again, in September was around 46 million monthly. So that's pretty impressive. There was over 12,000 employees served, and the enterprise clients was still over 200. So if I take a look at it, I don't think those are some bad statistics. I think that's actually very impressive. And again, I think it kind of sometimes showcases that, the price could be doing one thing, but the fundamentals could be different. In this space, sometimes the price isn't just necessarily tied to the fundamentals. Sometimes, again, if the altcoin space doesn't want to do the best, a project can be doing the best it's ever done fundamentally, but some cases we see that the price even still doesn't do good whatsoever. So I think within this space, it still kind of has that vibe where, again, a project could be doing good, but the price could be actually not doing good. That's the way to take a look at it. So when I take a look at some of my friends out there saying, oh, if ZBCN went down, that means the fundamentals became bad. Well, I think arguably I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because when I take a look at it, it's still not bad in terms of its statistics. And I've also take a look at, let's say, the Zebec cards. The volume was around 60 million and the cards issued was over 19,000. So it's still, pretty impressive, I think, in that kind of sector. Again, when I take a look at something like Zebec, what is something that oftentimes people like to kind of not really take seriously when it comes to it? It's the cards, right? But then again, they're taking it pretty seriously, and I think it's still pretty impressive. Again, the statistics, like in the case of, again, around 60 million in terms of rolling 4 weeks annualized for its monthly volume report. Again, when it comes to Zebec cards, I mean, that's pretty impressive in my opinion. A lot of other projects out there, right? If we take a look at they having cards out there, or let's say they have an aspect of cards, sometimes it's not really taken seriously. So then when that aspect is showcased when it comes to Zebec, sometimes a lot of my friends just automatically think, oh, that means they're not taking it seriously because other projects aren't. But then in this case, it seems to be taken seriously. So it's kind of a little bit of a rare exception, I think, nowadays, when compared to back then, when a project, says they have cards and all this, we kind of see it being taken seriously, but now it's just kind of like being put out there like, oh yeah, this project has cards, this project. So it becomes a little bit diluted in terms of the significance of it. But when I take a look at Zebec, I still do like how they're taking it seriously in contrast to some other projects out there that don't really take it that seriously. Now also, when I take a look at, let's say, something like Zebec, people like to say, okay, when it comes to the fundamentals, we kind of could see, certain aspects of it, but at the same time, oh, the price isn't doing the best and all this. Again, I'm totally aware of that, but at the same time, a lot of other projects out there are having a pullback. It's not like ZBCN's the only one. Now, the way you take a look at it as well, though, is that, sure, the market cap is currently around that 290 million range, right? But we saw not too long ago when actually ZBCN reached a market cap of around 215 million, basically, or should I say nearly 200 million? And that was back in July. Not soon after that, we saw a pretty okay recovery to around 500 million, around that range. Now, that recovery didn't take a year, right? Again, I mean, it was just from July, and then we saw it reach around 500 million in August. So what? Around a month, basically? Like, we're not talking about, oh, it took like 5 years or something. Within this space, ZBCN was able to have like that pretty decent recovery. Now, again, granted, there's another pullback, but along the journey, it's not just going to be smooth sailing. There's going to be ups and downs. I just haven't given up overall, and I still think it's a positive update, again, nonetheless, that, again, even bothers to release their monthly volume report. Other projects out there, they just don't update anymore. They just don't care. This one is at least still updating. And again, at least the statistics still look pretty impressive to me. Not to say it's the best by any means, but still not bad, I think, at the end of the day, considering how, again, sometimes you like to say, oh, the price isn't doing the best, so that means enterprises out there won't really care about this. Well, again, if there's over 200 payroll enterprise clients, I don't think they necessarily care too much about the price of ZBCN. Maybe. I mean, I can't say for every single case, but sometimes an enterprise, they're partnering for the technology, they're partnering for the expertise, for whatever they see within the project, right? It's not just solely tied to, I think, sometimes the price and that just only being the main factor. Because if that is the case, why not just do something with like, Shiba Inu? That has a bigger market cap than this. But then what's really the technology? You know what I mean? What's really the fundamentals? So again, I think sometimes that matters, the fundamentals and all this type of stuff. So I'm still holding. I haven't given up. And again, 10 cents may be around a 33x from here, but the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 9.5 billion. Like, it's nothing that I think would be groundbreaking, that figure. Like, for instance, if we take a look at something that's pretty popular within this space, right? A payments, global trade and finance, we take a look at Stellar. XLM current market cap is nearly 9 billion, so that at 10 cents would actually have a market cap that is, give or take, around slightly more, I should say, right, than XLM currently, and this is with altcoins having a pullback. Like, and that's even imagining if, let's say, 10 cents was able even to be reached during an altcoin season. And, just that market cap, again, it just doesn't seem like anything that is going to break any records or something like that. So this is why I'm still staying patient. Now, ultimately, though, the way I take a look at it is, of course, it's not that good seeing things go down in terms of the price, but my point of view is that, I remember when I first got into ZBCN, that market cap was around that 60 million range, and then I remember I saw that pretty slight recovery. Not even really recovery, I would say. I would say it's actually a pretty okay rally at that time when it went from like around 60 million to around 120 million. 130 million, that range. And then, of course, there was a pullback, and everyone's like, oh, ZBCN's done all this. And then it started kind of stabilizing a little bit at around that, $70 million market cap range. And then we saw ZBCN, back in May, just absolutely go on this run. And then the market cap was like over 500 million at one point. So I think that, if anything, showcases to me that it was actually a lot harder for me to believe in it back then. Now, granted, ZBCN has had a pullback, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually easier for me to hold it right now than back then, because back then there was really nothing I could look back recently and say, oh, it just did that. No, there was nothing I could do about that when it comes to ZBCN. Like, the yearly price chart was just basically like flat like that. So to me, even right now with the slight pullback, this market cap, at least I've seen, ZBCN not too long ago reached over 500 million. So yeah, I just haven't given up. And seeing this update when it comes to Zebec, I think overall it's pretty positive, because in terms of the figures, it's still pretty impressive. And I think it also showcases that the project is at least still doing something. So again, I'm just still staying patient. Whenever an altcoin season wants to start, whether or not I want it to happen or not, it's going to do its thing. All I can do is just, again, stay patient, hold, and wait, and that's what I'm going to do. However, I'm not telling you to do anything. And it's just personally my perspective when it comes to it. And I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd also greatly appreciate that. It's Willie the Captain. And I hope you all have a nice day. I'm out. Peace. Bye.